So for this Sandbox episode, we are excited to talk to somebody whose work honestly speaks for itself, and we're excited to dig in to what makes him tick. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome illustrator and comic book artist George Caltsoudas.
Hi.
I feel like you put a Z, like Zudas.
Caltsoudas.
No, you did. Oh, it's just Caltsoudas.
No, I'm saying he did it.
Oh, sorry.
So wait, did I say it wrong? Because Okay, how about this? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome George, and now you say your own last name.
Well, me, Caltsoudas.
There he is!
Yeah! He did it way better than you did it, Andrew.
You know, I even spelled it phonetically so I could help myself, and the reality is there's just no helping me.
That's
and
true.
I realize that now, so it's okay. Okay, so George, welcome to the show. We're so glad that you're here. It sounds like you're a little under the weather, so we're going to do our best to push through and help you along. And hopefully by the time we're done with this, you'll feel better just by having been with us.
Oh, thanks.
People
thanks for doing this. Oh, sorry. Thanks for doing this a bit early too for me. Thank you.
Oh no, yeah. Well, so it's important to note for everybody out there, you're not in the Americas.
No, I'm in the UK, in Europe. Yeah.
So that's a few hours ahead.
Are you from the UK?
No, I'm not. I'm Greek Canadian. I was born in Toronto in Canada, and then I grew up in Greece. And then I decided to move here one day just because.
That's an interesting. I don't know that I've ever heard that combination before. Greek Canadian. That's pretty amazing. All right. So George, for everybody who's out there who isn't familiar with your name and hasn't and doesn't know who you are, just at a glance, tell everybody a little bit about who you are. Give us the Wikipedia page of your story.
Wikipedia. Oh boy. Okay. Wikipedia. I got a weird email from Wikipedia. Actually, that's funny. My story. Well, I'm an illustrator. I've always loved comics since I was a kid, and after being in a crummy designer job for like almost 10 years now, I finally decided to start getting into comics. I'm late to the game, but I enjoy doing it. I only do cover art for now, but at some point I want to try and actually draw the comics themselves as well. Sure. I try to find any kind of illustration jobs I can on the side. The Mondo thing I did just this past 2 months for Adventure Time was kind of a neat opportunity that just came out of nowhere. And that's about it, really. And then during the daytime, I'm a graphic designer. I've worked in like film marketing for like a really long time.
Oh, cool.
We used to do stuff independently for Disney and Marvel and a bunch of studios like that, Paramount. And then we got bought out by Legendary. So then I was like for Legendary for 3 years. And then now we're independent again. And now we're looking to work with another studio exclusively. So it has its moments, but comics is where my heart is, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny that you described yourself as the world's most boring person off air. You're way more exciting than either Andrew.
I was thinking the same thing. Like in my mind, I was thinking how ironic that right before we started, you're like, I'm just the world's most boring person. I'm like, what?
No.
How exciting are the people you hang out with? That's what I want to know. Because
the people I hang out with are very exciting. That's why I'm the most boring one.
Jeez.
In contrast,
the thing you said you are really passionate about comic books. Now you said that right now you do cover art, and so one thing I've learned through doing this show, because if you listen to the show, you know that I'm not an artist. That's not what I do not pretend to be. I could not pretend to be. But I have learned through talking to several people that illustrating, like the artwork is only one challenge of doing a comic book. But there's a whole nother challenge, which is actually setting up the panels and telling a story and moving people through, like moving their eyes through the correct way. So is that something that you also really enjoy doing?
It's something that I want to do, but I'm terrified of it because it is as hard as you say. And I am going to start doing a comic this year that will be published, hopefully, if I get it done, in a Greek magazine in Greece. There's a friend of mine that started up a new kind of I don't know what you'd call it, like sort of like how heavy metal is, but for Greece. Because there's a lot of Greek comic talent that's sort of kind of come into the scene. So
Sure.
I'm trying to do something for that, but I'm really terrified because it is hard and it's a lot of work. It's like imagine drawing an illustration, but you're drawing like, I don't know, like anywhere from 4 to 5 illustrations per page. And let's say you're doing about 22 pages. It's a lot. Right now I just do covers. And so I can take like a week to do just one illustration, or maybe 2 weeks even if I'm lucky. So that's fine. I'm not doing a lot at the moment. I mean, I'm blessed to be given what I am being given, which is mostly either Star Trek over at IDW Publishing or Power Rangers over at Boom. I was just doing some research for Power Rangers earlier, actually. Looking up different costumes. So that's fun. So I'm happy that I get to do that. It would be cool to get to do the more popular, like the Marvel and DC characters, especially like, Batman, Wonder Woman. But there's still time for that. I mean, I'm not getting any younger, so I have to kind of push myself. But it's really hard. It's a hard industry to get recognized in and to get noticed and to, I don't know, just to get to do like the bigger characters. It's really not easy.
Well, yeah. So let me ask you a question about that, because I'm I'm surfing through your website as we talk, and obviously have looked at your work and a big fan of it. Your work is like, if you told me that the work that you did with the Batman, like you did a Batman animated series, some pieces that you did. Yeah. If you told me that those were licensed, I would 100% believe you. I mean, they are on par with, so we just got done being at MondoCon. So we saw a ton of Batman stuff. In fact, they're doing a whole Batman, the animated series, gallery show this year. And some of the stuff coming out from like Phantom City Creative and Justin Erickson, like your stuff is on par with that stuff. So the fact that you have shifted gears a little bit and you've recently forayed your way into the gallery world with Mondo for the Adventure Time piece, and you take that in collaboration with the caliber of work that you're putting out, I don't see it being that big of a leap for you to be able to take on some of these characters in a more official, licensed way in the near future. So, like, what is it about taking on those characters specifically that is a drive for you? Like that Power Rangers are great and Star Trek is great and you enjoy doing that, but that maybe doing Batman is like, what is it about Batman that says, yes, that's what I need to be doing?
Batman was the character I first fell in love with. That was my first comic book. When I was a little kid, my grandma took me to... She just had to have me with her for the day, and she went to drop off some dry cleaning at some little plaza, and there was a comic book store at that plaza. And I'd never been inside one, and as kids, like, I don't know what, like 7 years old, we only knew of like comics that were like Archie's or like the sort of knockoff comic, which is the licensed one for Batman, the animated series. But we knew that wasn't like the legit real comic. That was just, and so I walked in and it was terrifying. It was the typical kind of stereotype of, and it was just this little kid alone. My grandma was like dropping off the dry cleaning, and she only told me, she said, you can only pick one, buy one. I'll get you one. And I was just so overwhelmed because there's all these different comics and they all look scary and weird and, sexualized and just crazy. And eventually my eye kind of stuck on this one cover that was Batman Legends of the Dark Knight, and it was the 50th anniversary issue. It's gorgeous. It's this cover by what's his name? I think it's Brian Boland, and it's Joker holding up like a grinning cat, and it's got like this beautiful embossed golden like lettering on it, like for the logo, and the artwork inside it was really good too. It was another artist, and then they had like a gallery of different artists, and there was Jim Lee's Batman as well, his first time drawing Batman. And just having that, when I was reading that on the way home with my grandma in the car, I just like knew, like from that point on, I want to draw comics. Like my mom would tell me, no, you should go into animation, that's where the money is, or my grandparents told me, no,
That's so
don't
funny
get
to
into
me.
this at all. Just, I don't know, work in a factory or something.
That's what
but
I would have
just-
expected your mom's response to be.
That's exactly
No.
right. Yeah, I don't know that I've ever heard anyone say, "Hey, get into animation because that's where the money is."
Yeah, I know. So I think it's that, and I think, when I decided to do those Batman ones, I discovered that they had the show again on Amazon for free. So I thought I'd rewatch it. I hadn't seen it in forever. And I kind of fell in love with it again, and I thought I'd do a sketch per day, per episode. I originally referred to them as sketches, and then some fans started noticing them and started calling them posters. I felt a bit reluctant about that, because the point wasn't to make it look too finished. And I decided I'll do one for every episode of the whole first season. Foolishly not realizing that when I looked it up on Wikipedia after I'd committed, the first season is technically 65 episodes.
Oh,
So
you messed
but
up.
I said no, it's a good challenge. It's a familiar character. It's a good way to build up a fan base and get more followers on Instagram and wherever else. So I did it all year last year, I think it was. I'm happy with the results, and it was pretty cool. And I'd say Batman. It's everything. It's the city. It's the villains. It's the vehicles. It's just the world building of it. I guess after all that, to answer your actual question, it's the world building. I love world building.
Okay, so I can see that. I can see that being that idea makes sense to me. The world building, considering how much you love comics and everything, that makes sense. And Batman has such a rich, I don't want to say vibrant, because vibrant is the wrong word for it, but it has such a rich, deep world, and there's so much invested in that world. So I do have a question though about specifically your style. So you talked about how you're working on this project that's kind of like a UK version of heavy metal. Or a Greek version of heavy metal.
Yeah.
And then I see your Power Rangers and your Adventure Time. And these are two very, very different genres. And stylistically very, very different. So what is it that you gravitate to? And then what is it that you're bringing to that new project that's maybe a unique twist that maybe the US version of heavy metal doesn't have?
Well, the thing is, at the moment, I love stuff. I really gravitate more towards more vintage stuff, that 60s and 70s, and you like how Frank Avila does that. I love that kind of thing, and I want to do that. But it's just the kind of situation where, at the moment, if I'm doing Star Trek, it has to have a certain polished look. If it was the retro original series, which I'd love to do, I could kind of go more in the direction of the color palette that I want to do, and maybe some scratches and textures, which I'd love. But because Star Trek is so polished and futuristic,
right?
And then Power Rangers, again, it's the same thing. I kind of wanted to try and do them with smashed helmets and bruises and kind of dirtied up uniforms, but they said no, that's the licensing doesn't want that. So it's kind of been just the designer in me kind of respecting the fact that's just kind of, those two worlds happen to be more kind of bright colors and kind of cleaner.
Sure.
So I guess because of that, though, I've kind of sort of designed myself into a corner a bit. So maybe I think people just think that this is how I want to illustrate always, in terms of the color palette and the subject matter. But I mean, I really love, I'd love to be able to do more just stuff with cars or vehicles, or I mean, the Batman stuff I liked, it was a bit more, I got to break away and do moodier color tones.
Yeah.
And for the comic I'm gonna work on, or try to work on, it's not per se heavy metal. I guess I just use that as an example, but it's there used to be a magazine called Babel, or Babel, depending on how you pronounce it, which was just the only comic that kind of had artists just draw comics in. It didn't have to be racy or edgy or whatever. So
Sure.
this is just kind of that. It's just like, I think it's just going to have a variety of styles, and it's not all going to be dark, and maybe some of it will be. I don't really know. So I'm not too worried about that, although I am trying to do a kind of a dark thing, but I can't say too much about it because I think if I do, I'll jinx it. You know, when you start to describe a project you're going to work on, you kind of just feel like that's satisfying enough that you explained it to someone and then you don't end up doing it. So,
Sure, I get that.
Yeah,
It scratches the itch for you without having to actually do the work.
Yeah, but I am going to try and kind of show my more mature side a little bit. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Well, I want to. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, that's okay. Yeah. I was going to say, same with the Adventure Time. I mean, that's what they asked me to do. Mondo just approached me, and that was cool, and it was out of nowhere, and you don't say no to that. So
Right.
I hadn't seen Adventure Time in maybe a few years, so I had to catch up on it again for that. But I just said yes, something's better than nothing. It's not really like, it's not my forte, but I love that I got to do it, you know.
Oh, and it's killer. I mean,
Well, I was gonna say,
yeah.
I was literally gonna transition into
sorry.
Adventure Time. You're stealing my thunder right now.
Okay, I'll shut up. Sorry.
Yeah, let him run the interview here.
But it is a bit different than your other work. In fact, honestly, the style a bit reminds me of maybe Matt Taylor, someone like that. Both in some of the tone of the color and in the non-variant edition, but then in also some of kind of like the texture that's applied, especially around the border. But the piece is killer. I mean, this thing is... So I don't remember the piece. I know Andrew remembers it because he likes Adventure Time, and so...
I remember it because I
pays
missed
closer.
it.
Oh, so that's why he still has a hole in his heart for
Pretty
it. That's why I
salty
missed-
about it. Yeah, I missed it, and it was because I set my alarm for PM and not AM. That's exactly why I missed it.
That'll do it. But I love this print. So maybe talk a bit more about I guess deciding on the direction, even if the direction maybe is a bit outside what you normally do, and then executing it well. Like, how did you end up where you are with the print?
Right, okay, so that print. Before I say that, I have to say that I understand your frustration with buying from Mondo. I had the same experience because I had no idea when I first went to buy something. But then when they had those Tom Whalen, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, those kind of portrait style, man, because I really loved those, I made sure, and I had everything set up, and I got all 4 of them. And
Nice.
It's like going into a casino, winning lots of money, but then leaving. You know, it's like that.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
no more. That's enough. That's good. I got something from Mondo.
I don't know if this song has made it over there, but in the U.S., there's a wise sage who once sung a song about that. He said, "You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run."
Yeah, basically, yeah. So Mondo. So you're asking me why I decided to go with that palette and that approach, right? Part of it was that I couldn't remember the cartoon much. I just know the basic.
I love this answer.
And then part of it was because I noticed in a lot of the licensed artwork and a lot of the comic books, because they do Adventure Time comic books, multiple different titles, a lot of artists always go for the really zany, colorful, like Candyland, Acid Trip, Alice in Wonderland-y kind of Super Mario weird vibe about it, which is wonderful and fun to draw. But I guess because I just wanted to do something a bit different, and I knew the show was ending, so I just wanted to do something more mellow and somber. And it's always the music I'm listening to at the time. Like I have to listen to just music, and I never pick music that's relevant to what I'm drawing. So if I'm doing say an Edward Scissorhands cover, I'm not listening to the Edward Scissorhands soundtrack. I'm listening to Jessie Ware and other kind of stuff. And so at the time I was just listening to more kind of that late 60s, early 70s kind of style music, and Simon and Garfunkel and who else? Like Led Zeppelin, but also like Tame Impala and like Always, bands like that are modern but old fashioned, and it just kind of inspired that feeling of kind of, I don't know, like sort of hippie flower children in the forest kind of gathered around a campfire kind of thing.
Yeah.
But because it was such a kind of moodier piece, I thought to balance it out, it needs to have those weird Candyland kind of colors. So I went with like the nighttime areas instead of just blue, which is what I started with. I went for a more like poppy turquoisey teal, and then for the warm colors, rather than just doing like a natural fire, which is just like yellow, orange, and then brighter orange, I went for like, what did I do? I did like a sort of weird purpley magenta and a kind of neon orange kind of sort of.
And working the fire princess into that was like just genius.
Genius. Thanks. I don't know if like subconsciously if that was done in an episode and I thought of it, but I liked that, and I like my favorite is how I always get them confused. I don't know which is Finn and which is Jake, but the dog.
Yeah.
I like how the
Jake
dog
is
turned
the
out.
dog.
Yeah. I'm happy with Jake. I'm really happy with Jake with the guitar. Mm-hmm. Although he's holding the guitar the wrong way around, I know. But I already drew it, and then I didn't want to flip him. And I found this image of one of these guitars that Elvis Presley had, where it had all these beautiful flower carvings in it. And I thought, oh, that's it. That's perfect. So I love that bit of the poster. When I look at it now, I feel like there's a bit too much dead space at the top, where towards the right. But it is what it is. I feel like if I were to do it again, I would just do a poster of the Jake, the dog, with the guitar on the log, and maybe Beemo, and that's it. And just not anything else. But
I'm picturing what you could do if that was the whole poster. What you could do with that inlay and just work some of the characters into the inlay of the guitar. That would be pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, see, that's the thing is like if you have more time to think about it. Yeah, it's always that, isn't it? Like when you go away and then come back and look at something a while later, you think, oh, I should have done that. But that's a great idea, actually. Yeah, I mean, and so it is what it is, and I'm happy enough with it, and I'm happy I got to do it, and it's sad that the show's ended, but I guess it's been on for a while, and yeah.
So other than the Greek heavy metal, what's the name of that project? Are you allowed to say what the name of that?
It's the comic is called Blue Comet.
Blue Comet. Okay, so other than Blue Comet,
but I don't know if you're gonna find it. Yeah.
Okay, so other than that project and Blue Comet, what is it that's on your horizon that you're looking to get into, or that maybe you're already working on that people can expect to see from you?
Well, I've done some covers for the new Star Trek Discovery comic based on the new Netflix show that came out. Yeah, I've done some covers for that. I think one of them got released with the Klingons. I love how the Klingons look on that show. I don't know how I feel about that show. I've watched it and I've got mixed feelings. But I love the Klingon design on that show. It's very gorgeous. And I did this other one with like the human characters. That came out kind of nice, so, yeah, although maybe I should have made the ship a bit bigger on it now that I think about it. But there's that, and then I did something for the Power Rangers, what's it called? It's called like the 10th anniversary tribute art book. So it's not a cover, but it's like a poster.
Okay.
And I think they got lots and lots of different comic artists to do posters for different, like the different Power Rangers teams, and I got to pick the one that I love, which is the ones where they're like pirates. There's this crazy season where they're like pirates basically. They've got a flying pirate ship that flies in space, and it turns into the mecha bot thing, and they've got like pirate guns, and it's great. And then the villains look really crazy. They're these like robots.
This just sounds so ridiculous.
It is, go ahead. But it's fun to draw. I stumbled upon the Japanese version of it, which is crazier.
With also pirates?
Yeah, well, because it's in Japan, they take the Japanese ones and then they just reshoot the scenes with the actors when they're not in costume with Americans and stuff. But they make the stories, I think, for the States a bit more just like kids in high school kind of thing. Whereas like in the Japanese one, sometimes, although they're teenagers, they'll be like aliens from another race that have come to Earth. There's all these weird things. And so for the Japanese one, and I'm not a huge Power Ranger fan, but I fell in love with just the concept of this because it was so kooky and fun. It was apparently like the 35th anniversary for Japan because they've had more seasons of this. And it was kind of neat because it was basically, they were space pirates and they were trying to search for like treasure. And the treasure is these little figurines of all the different Power Rangers that have come to pass. And so they collect them and then they switch into the different costumes of all the different Sentai from all the different seasons, all the way back to like the 80s, the 70s. So it was just this insane kind of crazy thing. I thought, well, that's pretty neat. I couldn't really get into it because I don't know all the different seasons. So I don't think it's the same nostalgia. That it's basically Stranger Things nostalgia, but for Japanese people. I don't know. I don't really know. Right.
That's an interesting dichotomy there. That makes sense.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it is that way for them. Maybe it's not. But that was cool. So I got to do that. And
do you have doing another? Okay, go for it.
Oh yeah, I'm doing another Power Rangers thing now. And then what else have I done? Oh, and that. Well, okay. So I started a YouTube channel. It's really awful. I've just done one video and a test video, and I just bought this mic the other day, and so the sound is really bad, and I was even more sick the other day when I recorded it. I basically sound like the girl from the Blair Witch Project, you know that scene? She's like, her nose is running. It's really bad. But I'm basically going to try and like record myself just drawing the covers that I do. Yeah. But I won't be posting them right away. You have to wait until the previews come out for these covers. And that's usually like 4 months down the line. But I thought if I record it now and just hold on to it and then just post stuff later, that's fine then. That's all. I'm not doing anything wrong there. So I thought I'd do that because that's what a lot of people tend to ask me. They ask me, are you selling the Batman posters or are you going to do video things? And so I'm not selling Batman posters because ethically that's not okay because they're not licensed. And as far as lessons, yeah, I'm going to not make it lessons, but just videos of me drawing, maybe talking, or maybe I'll just fast forward it if I find that like my voice is too annoying or I don't have anything interesting to say. But I'm trying that out. So if you Google my name on YouTube, you can find that, or laugh at it, or leave like a really horrible comment. That's fine. You can troll me. Go ahead.
Or they can subscribe to you. That's a positive thing.
Right. So. Yeah, there's that too. Sorry. Yeah, there's
it's okay to do all the other, but as long as they subscribe, it's fine. Then it's cool. We'll put it. I already pulled it up, so we'll put a link in our show notes so people can find it, so they don't have to scour. It's right below this video. We'll have a link to YouTube. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna transition into finals. We want to be aware of your time and. Because we know that you got to get back to Power Rangers. Sounds like you're in the middle of it. So, well, you also have to sleep eventually too.
That's all right.
But yeah, so we're going to jump into final questions. I want to make a comment before I get into mine, which is that you did a Star Trek cover for like issue 11 for IDW. That cover is beautiful. That's all. I saw it in your Instagram.
Oh, thanks.
I love it. The colors are great. It looks shiny. I want to touch it. I like it.
Which one is that?
It's all it says is cover for Star Trek Boldly Go issue number 11.
No, but like, what is it of? Is it the ship?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, the
it's
ship.
Like this,
okay.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like this blue, aqua, white, like it's just coming out at an angle. Love it. But what I want to talk about is Clue. I love Clue. Now, specifically, I love the Clue movie. I've seen it so many times. Nobody owns videos anymore because you have Netflix and Hulu and stuff. I own a stack I own 5 DVDs. That's it. But one of them is Clue. Loved the film. And I saw that you have a lot of Clue illustrations. So tell me about it, George. What are these for? Where do they come from? And maybe just share with me your love for Clue.
Okay, so yes, when I was a kid, I loved that board game. Absolutely loved it. That was a cover for IDW. It was a different editor, not the one. Normally I work with Sarah Gatos with the Star Trek stuff. This was with another editor. And he asked me, do you want to do Clue? I was sort of trying to go for more like, hey, I'm up for. I see you edit Transformers and G.I. Joe. He's like, do you want to do Clue? I was like, yeah. And I always had the. I don't know if I should say this. This is going to make me look like. But secretly, even when I was an art student, I always secretly wanted to try and find time to do just a little mini project where I would redesign the Clue board game. Like entirely, like draw the rooms my own way, like with my own kind of decor and the characters and all that. And I could never do it. And I would always go back to it sometimes. And with this, I finally kind of got to do that. I mean, they did pre-design the characters exclusively for this comic, but I got to kind of cheat and sort of remold them a little bit more the way I'd dress them and stuff. And I really went to town with it. It's ridiculous because people look at that, I'm sure, who are in the industry and they just probably think that guy is an idiot. Like, we get paid nothing to make these covers, and you're putting that much into it as if it's like for a gallery show or something. But I was really happy to do that. And then so much so that I then thought for fun, right? I took each of the characters that I drew and just turned them into the cards, the playing cards. Which is what you saw. Yeah, which I love. And I fashioned it after the 80s board game because that's the one that I grew up with. I love that one. And the logo, because I thought, and I'm not much of a control freak, and I'm not like super snobby or anything. I'm fine with, comics. They have a certain logo that's set, and it's just gotta, you just gotta make sure what you draw kind of leave space for it, and you can't change it or whatever. I just saw that thing, and I just thought, oh my god, that is the most effing ugly logo I've ever seen. There's no way that is gonna go on my artwork. Like, I was just like, there's no way. But I thought, how can I make it so that it can suit my art? If I just do like something pretentious, like that same logo but in a solid color, he'll just be like, well, no, we're just gonna put the regular one on top. So I thought I have to make it look really like amazing so that they say, oh, he's put all this work into it, we just have to leave it as is. So I sat and I drew like the kind of the floral patterns that I did in the frame. I also did them in the letters. And then my sister was like, what if you put in like the same way Andrew thought of a better idea than I did. My sister's like, you know what? It's just plain flowers. It looks kind of dumb. So I thought, okay, well, let's, hide the weapons and the letters, and it came out really nice. I'm really happy. Pun
intended. You killed it. It's like super good. I mean, I can't imagine. So here's something that you said, and then I'll kind of ask my final question. Here's my final observation, if you will. You said that a lot of people said to you, like, this is just a cover. We're not getting paid very much for this. Why are you putting so much work into it? Like, it's for a gallery. It's because you do that you get work for galleries. If you do work that looks gallery ready, then galleries notice it, and that's how you get to do these projects. And so I think at least that seems to be the trajectory of your work, and that seems to be the story from you. I mean, you get called up from Mondo out of the blue. Not a lot of people get that, and that's, I would say that's probably a testament to the amount of care that you put into the work that you do, because it's so evident. So here's my final question. What is it that if you had to, let's say tomorrow, comic books and galleries ceased to exist on the planet, what do you do for a job that would be fulfilling to you?
Wow. Okay. First of all, thanks for the kind words. The thing, we don't really think about that a lot in comics. That's a great thing you just said there. That's very smart. I think most of the times in comics, when you're in comics, your mind is stuck in comics, and I mean, oh my God, if comics and posters and whatever didn't exist, I mean, I guess I would have to try and. Well, I mean, I would try and do like, I guess, children's books illustrations. I don't know if that's cheating, because maybe, that sort of what you're saying maybe covers that scenario as well. But
I think that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, or I mean, I guess there are ways to feel creatively fulfilled in what I do regularly during the day. I mean, I've had wonderful little moments, like, I got to design the Alice in Wonderland logo for Tim Burton's film, which was a mess, but they just couldn't
I
find
feel like
the
you
right.
buried the lead there a little bit, but that's
Sorry,
fine.
yeah. I mean, they couldn't find the right one, and they had all these different agencies do it. And then my boss was like, "Let's send a few, why not?" And I just sat there and drew one by hand, and he loved it. He just had 2 tweaks to it, and just told me to get rid of the ace off the eye, put a regular dot on the eye. There's things like that where if you just really, really apply yourself and you really care about it, you can do it. There's things like for Pirates of the Caribbean, they were gonna have the mermaids were gonna be sharks, and it was only when they pop out of the water they look like women, and that was sort of not working for them as VFX. So then I did all these mood boards for that film for the marketing side of it, and then I found these beautiful kind of this editorial shoot in a like a Japanese fashion magazine, and it was just this woman in the water, and she had like just this white flowing gown, and it looked like jellyfish, and that was cool. And I guess the director Rob Marshall saw that at some point. Someone showed him some marketing mood boards, and they kind of went off of that, and then got their designers to sort of create more kind of ethereal looking, alien looking mermaids off of that. There's weird things like that. There's things like with the Disney castle, they were always only having that castle intro because they were proud of it because it was new at the time.
Right.
And then for Tron Legacy, we were doing this presentation for international. I just thought it just looks it doesn't work to open with that castle, and I kind of just did a really crappy quick photoshopped it and made it look like it's on the grid in the Tron world, and with the lights and stuff and the teal, and that got seen somewhere and they liked it, and so they had obviously better designers build a physical kind of intro for. There's things like that you get to do in film in marketing that's really fun, or packaging, or toy packaging.
I'd say you could probably be fulfilled working
those small things
on a couple of those tiny little low budget mom and pop films.
Yeah. Those things only happen because I pushed and I thought of doing those things. Otherwise, so you gotta push somehow. And whatever you're doing, you just gotta find a way to And it's tough. Other designers work with you and they hate you, or they feel like you're kind of, but it's tough because you don't want to be, and it's not in my nature either. I want to get along with people. You don't want to be sort of, I don't know what the word is, but kind of.
You don't want to be the creative a-hole.
Yeah, but at the same time, you kind of have to, because you've got one life and one opportunity to say, well, you know what I mean? If someone can run faster than you, they'll run faster than you. They're not going to wait up for you. They're going to leave you in the dust. And so I think sometimes you have to not feel guilty about that and just really go after what you want to do.
Man. Dude, I think that's honestly, I think that's the best word to leave that one on. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, they can follow you, they can support what you're doing and see what you're up to?
Okay, so you can, if you Google me, George Caltsoudas, if you can figure out that how that's spelled, Caltsoudas, and you'll find my website. You'll find my Instagram, my Twitter. My Instagram is the best place, I guess. On my website and my shop, I've still got some Adventure Time posters from the art proofs. If anyone's listening out there and interested, that's it basically.
All right. Well, dude, thanks so much for chatting with us. Go find his work. Go pick it up. Follow him. George is an incredibly talented dude. His work is astounding. And I feel like we're only going to see more and more of him. So now is the time. Get on the George bus because that's going to be a rising star. For now, though, you can find all the show notes and things on the just below us. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can find the links there, and you don't have to try to figure out his name and how to spell it. You can just click the link below. If you're listening to this on iTunes, you're on your own. No, you can go to mof1podcast.com to find show notes and links to all that stuff, so you don't have to figure it out. You can just click on there, as well as a whole bunch of other people who are incredibly talented in our archive. You can connect with us through social media. Just search M of One Podcast. You can support the show by liking this video, by sharing this video, by sharing this podcast episode, by rating and reviewing the episode on iTunes, and subscribing on all the different platforms. You can join the conversation by going to our Slack channel, which is mof1podcast.com/Slack. We have almost 300 creatives and doers and artists and illustrators inside that Slack community each and every day, chatting it up and sharing their work and getting advice and commiserating with each other and celebrating with each other. It's a great community. Join that there. And they're from all over the world, all times a day. And am I missing anything else? Oh, you can support the show on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/M1podcast and throw a couple dollars in the old proverbial hat. This isn't free. It helps us get that stuff done, and it helps us continue to put out more and fresh content like video and some cool stuff. We have some ideas for some cool stuff for video. Patrick, am I missing anything? I feel like I might be.
Tokens.
That's right. Hey, George, you want to do us a favor and help us pick our tokens for next week? Okay, perfect. Then I'm going to give you a number between 1 and 3, and you're going to let me know which you're picking. So you're going to be picking. So Luke's not here. We didn't really address that. Luke's not here.
Yeah, this is a good time to mention it.
Sorry, buddy.
What's funny is people probably couldn't tell because Luke's really pretty quiet most of the time. I imagine there are people just now learning that he's not here.
George says, "Aw." He's felt sad for Luke in that moment. If they're watching the YouTube, then they reckon the YouTube. What an idiot! If they're watching this on YouTube, then they know that he's not here because there's a lack of facial hair happening. But be that as it may, why don't you go ahead and pick a number between 1 and 3, and you'll be picking for Luke.
2.
2, that's toys and games. He's going to be really happy about that. All right, so pick a number between either 1 or 2, and you'll be picking for Patrick.
1.
TV and film. That means that we all have our own categories once again.
It's almost like magic.
It is almost like, I feel like it's now getting to the point where if we do not get our categories, we're going to be upset with whoever it is that picks it. So we gotta be careful on that ledge. George, thank you so much for being here. We're going to get out of this episode. Connect with us on all the different social media platforms and just be part of the conversation, do good things, and create amazing art. I was trying something new. I shouldn't have workshopped it live. We'll figure it out. We're going to get out of here for now, though. I'm Andrew.
I'm Patrick.
And I'm George.
Peace out.
Bye.
Go kite change.